The Stocks Lane Stinger, a just over 10-kilometre road and trail race that takes you around the beautiful London Valley. The route treats you to some wonderful greenery-filled views, some enthusiastic support on the way around, and a 1.7-kilometre stretch of uphill with an average grade of 11%.
Nice.
Some sections of that hill go up to as much as 26% grade. So the question you're probably thinking right now is, why would I do that? Why did you do that? What is wrong with you? A lot of things. A lot of things are wrong with me. But don't let a little old hill scare you away. This is a fantastic low-key race with a lovely net downhill for the first 8 kilometres through great scenery, and after your Herculean effort up Stocks Lane, there is a table full of snacks and drinks to dive into. If you're a speedy bean, then there's also some prize money up for grabs for breaking the course records. The race begins just down the road from the Crossroads Inn on a track just off Mountable Road. Once the runners are set off, you head down Wainstalls Lane and basically just follow this road all the way into the valley. The route is well marshalled and it's very hard to go wrong. While the first 8 kilometres of the route is a net downhill, there are numerous undulations that do still make this part of the route sufficiently challenging, and some of the downhill sections are quite steep. It can be very easy to burn a bit too hard in the first part of the course, but remember, you've got a big hill to get up at the end, so you want something left in the tank to deal with that. You follow tracks and trails back out of the valley and into the village of London. When you get to the bottom of Stocks Lane, you'll know about it. Be prepared for some pain because this is a long slog and most people will need to walk for at least some of it. It's a great challenge and a fantastic opportunity to really push yourself, especially knowing that there's a bunch of food and drink waiting for you at the finish line to tuck into, as well as chip butties available back at the pub after the race. Pace yourself and try to keep steady effort. This isn't a PB course by any stretch, but you can still go for it and see what you can do. I love this race. The event organiser is Cragrunner, and they basically do a bunch of really good races, and they're all pretty affordable and accessible to different people, and I just really like what they do generally, and I'm excited to kind of like do more of their races over the next few years. Yeah, great organiser, really good event. Now that I've kind of talked through what the event itself entails and you've seen a bit of what the route is like, I'm just going to chat a bit about the day and how my race went. I have run this race before. I ran it in 2021 and then couldn't do it last year because I had an event that I had to be at. But basically I'm just planning on doing it every year unless something physically prevents me from being there. Generally not a big fan of road racing, and this is a mostly road route, but it's just really nice to have road events that are pretty and interesting, and it's just a bit different. Like, people, I think, can be afraid to put a lot of elevation gain in their races, which it just sucks a little bit. Like, I think it does add more fun to it when there's a lot more elevation gain. I know people want to like get PBs and whatnot, but man, running on road, flat road, is boring. It's so boring. Put hills in your races. The day itself was pretty muggy. There was a bit of overcast cloud for the first bit of the race, and there was a bit of sun came out when we were going up the hill, which is not the best place for the sun to come out, but generally it wasn't too bad, but it was quite muggy, so I did have to kind of like hold back a little bit because of that, because it was just really hot and made it a bit more difficult to manage the effort just because of the amount of humidity in the air. My own race, I was 2 minutes and 15 seconds slower than in 2021, which I was initially a little bit disappointed with, but one really big thing that happened was that I made some massive progress with a problem I've been having for years. I get pretty bad stitches. I'm very prone to getting stitches, and it's an issue that's been plaguing me for a while. I've finally figured out kind of why it happens and when it's going to be worse. So that was a big breakthrough, but I managed to possibly have a tactic to mitigate the worst of it in race efforts. So for a little bit of context, if you're particularly bothered about people talking about periods or whatever, skip ahead a couple of minutes. Essentially, it gets worse, the stitches are much worse in the 2 weeks leading up to my period, because during those 2 weeks your progesterone levels are higher, which basically means your muscles break down more, and they'll break down more easily. So what I did was I made up a drink to have before the race that had creatine and a bunch of salt in it, and then I put a little bit of golden syrup in there to try and make it palatable. It was not palatable. So I managed to get this absolutely disgusting liquid down me about 35 minutes before the race. So I'm not 100% sure if it was the salt or the creatine or both of them that did it, but I did not get a stitch, which is amazing because I just without fail will get stitches in hard efforts. It just happens in those in that 2 week block prior to my period starting, and I haven't been able to do anything about it. Like just having electrolytes beforehand didn't seem to touch it. I'll like manage to hold it off a lot of the time by kind of like pushing the muscles under my ribs a bit, and that will kind of stop it coming on so badly, but it will eventually still come on, usually towards the end of the race. So to not have it during the race on Sunday was a massive breakthrough, because it's been a huge point of frustration for me for such a long time now. So that was huge. So it kind of didn't really matter that I was slower, and there were other reasons, like I was managing my effort a bit better. I kind of let myself go down the first like 3K. I just let myself kind of roll with the hill and kind of go with the flow of it, and then I managed the effort a lot more in the middle section of the race because I just really didn't want that stitch to come on at all. It's not such an issue going uphill, so the last bit I wasn't too worried about. It's just going downhill seems to make it much worse. Like I don't know whether it's just because of the impact. Going downhill means my muscles can't relax, so they cramp up much more easily. So I just needed to manage it for that like first bit of the race, and the uphill would be fine. So it could be that like putting the creatine in the drink meant that that kind of mitigated some of the muscle breakdown that happens when your hormone levels are higher in the kind of like pre-period phase. There's science words for this, but I can't remember what they are. So the creatine probably helped in that regard, and then just obviously having the salt in there helps with general mineral transportation around the body and through the muscles. So I think I just obviously need a lot of salt. Like I used to try and have electrolyte drinks. I'd pre-hydrate before races. I'd drink like a bunch of electrolyte drinks in the kind of like 3 days leading up to races, and then on the day of the race I just wouldn't do anything at all. So it just seems I just need more salt, and that creatine seems to have helped. But I'm gonna test it out a bit more over the next kind of 3 weeks, because I've got a bunch of races over the next 3 weeks, and it'll just be a really good opportunity to test it and see if it was a fluke or whether I have found a solution to the problem. Anyway, super happy. I had a great time. I don't really care that it was slower. I'm trying to like just have fun with racing and stuff at the minute, and running in general. My mileage is not very high at the minute at all. I got pretty depressed after the marathon training block, just because I'd put myself under way too much pressure, and I was trying to achieve things that were ludicrous in timeframes that were also ludicrous. So I'm only entering races that I think I will have fun with. And I'm, yeah, just trying to enjoy myself, and that's it. That's the only criteria. Like, I'll probably get a bit competitive again later down the line, but I just really need to find a way to be competitive in like a healthy way. So just entering races that are fun is part of that. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling and let you get on with your day. So thank you very much for watching the video. I'm going to try and do videos in this format for my favorite races. So I'll probably just do like normal POV videos for other races that are kind of like that are fine but aren't my favorites. But for my favourite ones, I will do videos that are a bit more like this with a little bit of exposition, what the race is about and what's involved. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. There should be more training content coming over the next few months. I've just not been running that much, so I've not really been filming anything. And yeah, we'll just building up my mileage again really slowly. I want to get myself to a really good base and then go from there. Have an excellent day, and I will see you next time.